mother-in-law and sister-in-law tried to absolutely gaslight me into saying, "Oh, I'm not good enough for their baby boy," trying to tell my husband that I'm not worth it. Well, I decide to do this. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law are trying to break up my marriage, and I don't know what to do. I'm in a crisis, and I don't know what to do. I feel that they're very close to getting what they want. And, well, they have done everything they can to show him that I'm not good enough for him. The worst part is that they've gotten in my head. Sometimes I catch myself wondering if he'll leave me for someone from a better family. It's only 4 months since we got married and we should be happy. Instead, there's this elephant in the room that is my mother-in-law and sister-in-law, Stacy. This all started when he proposed to me. They were genuinely shocked because I was not his usual type. I've seen my husband's exes. They're all gorgeous and have very nice fancy jobs. Then there's just me with a regular job, and Stacy and her mom made sure to let me know that they said that in the end, he would not marry me. They tried to humiliate me in front of their family because I could not afford certain things, but I was relentless. They talked badly about me to anyone who would listen, but I kept my head down and planned the wedding. Now that we've been married for 4 months, it appears that they're doubling down on their efforts. Recently, I found out that they introduced one of Stacy's friends to my husband, Elliot. This friend of hers works at the same company as my husband and apparently has the same hobbies as him. My husband became friends with her, and I could not say anything about it, lest I be seen as jealous. We have this rule that we're allowed to have friends of any gender because we trust each other. I could tell that this girl was changing her personality so that he would get along with her. She started to invite herself to family events, and my mother-in-law and Stacy encouraged her. They often made comparisons between us in front of my husband, and see, my husband is a quiet person, so he did not say much. When we got home after a family event where it was clear that we were trying to force something that was not there, I had no choice but to ask the difficult question. I asked him if Meredith had made any advances at him, and he told me that she was just a good friend. He said that he did not know what his mom and sister were doing, but then he promised that he would stop being friends with her if it made me feel uncomfortable. And I then said that it was best he limit his interaction with her, and I trusted him, but I did not trust her. She was always flaunting her achievements and money, as if it was going to attract him. If my husband cared about money so much, then we would not even be married. So we decided to talk to his mom and sister and ask them to back off. In addition to that, he stopped hanging out with Meredith as often. Not long after that, it was his birthday. I don't earn as much money as people around me, and I've accepted it and live within my means. However, I wanted to spoil my husband for his first birthday as a married man. So I booked a table for us at a very fancy restaurant, and I bought him a costly gift. I let him know what time we were having a dinner and got a confirmation. Tell me why I waited and waited and waited for him to arrive, but he never did. After about an hour, I realized that he was not going to come. His phone was off and the messages were not getting through, and I was worried, so then I called his sister. His sister told me that he chose to hang out with her instead of me for his birthday. She then told me that I should just accept the fact that her brother was losing feelings for me. She then told me that Meredith said hi to me. To say that I was mad was an understatement. My head was spinning with millions of possibilities that I was now faced with, and what if something happened at the party between him and Meredith? I was not there to supervise his sister and make sure that she did not try to sabotage my marriage. It was not like I could just show up. I had no idea where he was. In addition to that, I was really hurt by the fact that he chose to hang out with his sister instead of me. I told him to meet me at the restaurant and he did not, and I ended up eating dinner and going home. I watched some movies while I waited for him, and then I fell asleep, and I heard him come in the middle of the night, but I decided just to go back to sleep. It was his birthday, so I did not want to start any unnecessary fights. The next morning, I did not hold back. I told him how what he did made me feel, and I asked if it was more important to go out drinking than to have dinner with his wife. I then asked him what Meredith was doing at the party. Was he having an affair with her now? But then he told me that he had no idea that our dinner was last night. He said that on his calendar it was the next night, but then I told him that he sent me a message to confirm that we would have been having dinner together. I even got him a watch, which I showed to him. He thanked me for the watch and apologized, and he said that he did not have those messages on his phone. His assistant must have confirmed my mistake. That was very convenient, if you ask me. Surely there was someone who knew that I was planning and had sabotaged it. I was still very mad about how I had been stood up, so the rest of the breakfast was awkward. To make matters worse, I bumped into my monster-in-law later that day. She told me that she heard that he stood me up for dinner. She said that I deserved it and should just leave without embarrassing myself. She told me that her son was a high-value man and soon he would realize that he was out of my league. She then asked me what value I brought into his life, and she felt that I was merely a liability in this life and needed to leave him alone. I told her to keep on trying, but nothing would separate us. That's when she laughed and said that I could not even afford to give him the gift that Meredith gave him. I asked what she meant, and that's when she showed me a picture of my husband right next to a horse. I was flabbergasted. I knew that horses were not cheap. He had been talking about how he wanted to take up horse riding as a hobby in the near future. Clearly, Meredith was paying attention and trying to buy him gifts. I did not know who was feeding her the information, but I guessed it was my mother-in-law. This was not fair. They were playing dirty. They constantly humiliated me and made me feel small. This has to stop. I need them to know that they cannot mess with me, and I'm here to stay. For those of you who have had to deal with the disrespectful in-laws, how have you done it? I'm looking for all the ideas, even if I have to play dirty. The only way that I can get them to stop whispering nonsense in his ear is if I show them that I too am very dangerous. So, yes, I want to get revenge on them very badly. I want to embarrass both of them in front of the whole family so they cannot show their faces again. After that, I'm going to make sure that my husband stops talking to them. They think that they have all the power since they're related to him, but they have never dealt with a woman scorned so much as me before. Showing me the pictures of the horse has ignited something in me that was once lost. It's the strength that I had when I was dealing with bullies like them growing up. I had to grow that thick skin and defend myself, and looks like I'll have to do it again. Game on! Update number 1. It's funny how the universe sometimes aligns itself with your plans. Everything has been working in my favor for the past couple of days. I guess it's the newfound strength that I've gotten. When I got home, I congratulated my husband on his horse. He asked if he needed to give it back, but I told him no. I told him that instead I'd gotten someone who would help him with the learning of how to ride a horse. I'd actually booked us some sessions as a couple. So, I attended those sessions with him, bonded, and made sure to send those pictures to his mom and sister using his phone. I, too, could play the game. Meredith tried to worm herself into our lessons, but I just had to give my husband the eye, and he was refusing to, let her in. That's when she got even more desperate and sloppy. She starts to text him too much and show up at places where he was. I admit that sometimes I let false information slip when I was around my sister-in-law. I knew she would then tell Meredith, and Meredith then ended up making apple pie for my husband and giving it to him at work. He then came home and told me that he had just requested to be transferred to another department at work because she was harassing him. I asked what he meant, and he said that she tried to feed him apple pie, swearing that it was his favorite. He also said that he noticed her staring at him through his office window, and he was starting to feel uncomfortable. I then watched as he drafted a long message to his mother and sister. He told them that if they forced him to be in the same room as Meredith again, then he was going to stop attending family events. Be as it may, some hot piece of gossip landed in my lap not so long after. With it, I started to craft the perfect plan to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Sure, I'd gotten rid of the thorn that was Meredith, but they could replace her. I needed to teach them a lesson that would make them think twice about trying to end my marriage. I was here to stay, and Elliot loves me and would not leave me at all. It was all thanks to a person with some very loose lips in the family. Every family has one of those people, and I had just given her some old clothing of mine and she started spilling. She knows everything that happens in the community as it happens, and I have no idea how she does it. But it's useful to me, and now I have a party plan. This is going to be the greatest and most unforgettable party that this family has ever seen. Update number 2. I delivered and left no crumbs when it comes to the party. Everything's going the way that I wanted, and my mother-in-law and Stacy will be crying in a matter of days. They'll regret ever messing with me, and it's just so funny that they thought I was just going to lie over and let them bully me. They've doubled down on insulting me and shaming me for not having as much money as my husband. Elliot has never complained about the fact that he has to pay the bulk of the bills, but of course, they had something to say. The perfect opportunity to get my revenge soon presented itself. I have a friend who works at the hotel where my sister-in-law works as a manager. She's been working there for over 2 years and is a very proud owner of her job. In fact, it's a 5-star hotel where a lot of esteemed guests stay when they're in town, you know. In order to get a reservation there, you need a lot of money or good connections. Luckily for me, I had connections that managed to get a date. Quite a long time ago, I helped out a friend of mine. She's an ambassador and has lots of connections, and I basically saved her job for her, and ever since then, she's felt that she owed me. I let her know that I really wanted to throw a party for my mother-in-law, but it needed to be that specific hotel. She told me that there was nothing that she could not do. Sure enough, I get a call a couple days later. She managed to get us a space to throw the party. My mother-in-law was turning 60, so when I told my husband that I wanted to throw a party for her, he was thrilled. He was also a little bit suspicious because we have not been getting along lately, and I then said that while that was the case, I want to fix things between us. I noticed that my mother-in-law really enjoyed flashy gifts, and I thought she would have one. He thought that I was being a bit strange, but nonetheless he told me that he would support me. So then I visited my mother-in-law and I let her know that while we might never get along, I wanted to throw her a birthday party. I told her that I've gotten a very good venue through a friend and thought what better way to throw her a birthday party. I also added that a lot of people were getting done with work for the year, so it would be a nice surprise for the whole family. Of course, she was skeptical. She asked what horrors I had planned for her, and I told her that, well, to be honest, I'd been thinking a lot about what she said, and even though I was born into a middle-class family, I really loved her son and wanted to fit in. I would not always have the most luxurious life, but I wanted to try. I also told her that what I lacked financially, I made up for with good connections. She was intrigued by this and spent about an hour questioning me about the people that I knew. I had proof when she asked me for it, and I could tell that at the end she realized that she had judged me. She was more than happy to send the invites that I gave her for the party, but there was something special about this party, for the venue was not to be revealed by anyone. There was a reason only known to me as to why I did not reveal the venue to the party. It was all part of my plan. After that, I had to visit my sister-in-law. She asked me to come to her house because she had some stuff to give my husband. When I got to her house, she would not stop bragging about the new furniture that she had just bought and about how her big apartment was. She made some comment saying that if I did not have my husband, I'd probably have never had a good life like the one I lead. She then said that it's a good thing that her brother got a prenup, for I look like the type to sue for alimony. I told her that I was not there to be insulted by her. All her attempts at breaking up my marriage failed, and I told her that I was just there to fetch what I needed for my husband and be on the way. I then told her that she was invited to the party, even though I would rather she was not there. She then made a big show of saying that she had a date with someone on that day, same banker. I told her that it was up to her whether she wanted to miss her mother's birthday. If she wanted her mother to end up liking me, then it was on her. Even though I was just teasing, I noticed that she was very attentive after that, and so it must have worked. She was very paranoid now that the party was going to win her mother over, and it would be over for her. I needed her to panic, for if she did, then she was going to make some very big mistakes. I also let her know that I was not going to tell anyone about the venue. A couple of minutes after that, I went to use the bathroom, leaving my handbag unattended. The details for the venue were in it, and I knew that she was going to use that information to sabotage me. It was like taking candy from a baby, and now I just have to wait for the day of the party where a lot of truths are going to be revealed. Update number 3. It's after party, and what a night it was. I'm still playing over what happened last night, and I'm so over the moon with how things turned out. They turned out much better than I thought they would, and what my mother-in-law and Stacy did not know was that I set them up to ruin my party so that I would have proof that they were out to get me. My husband and the family did not fully believe that they had bad intentions when it came to my marriage, so I had to prove that and embarrass them in front of everyone. When I visited each of them, I left a little camera in the living room. Within the first day, I got the evidence that I would need to bring them down, and as soon as my sister-in-law found out about the venue, she called her mom. She then went over to her mom's house, and they discussed me at great length, and boy, they did not hold back when they trash-talked me. They called me dirty and wished that they had tried harder to end my relationship. They even laughed at me about my upbringing, saying that I was only bringing my husband down. They then said that they were going to ruin my party so that they would show everyone that I was a loser, as well as poor. My mother-in-law suggested canceling the venue, while my sister-in-law suggested that they would let me throw the party and ruin all the decorations, so that when the guests showed up, it would be an absolute mess. And that's what they did. Oh, they showed up at the venue and trashed it. Right after they were done, I sent them a message letting them know what the venue had changed at the last minute. I would send someone to pick them up, and I'd already arranged for all the guests to come to the real venue, where my sister-in-law worked. I did not worry too much about the venue that had been trashed. I got those decorations in a giveaway. So they were clearly frustrated that they got the wrong venue, and not knowing that I got everything on video. By the time they arrived, my nephew finished mixing everything together. I outdid myself when it came to the real party. Everybody was complimenting me on my style, and my mother-in-law tried to act like she was happy, but she kept on staring daggers at me. I can imagine that she was not happy that she had just been tricked. Here she was, thinking that was the end of it. It was just the beginning. My sister-in-law was trying to avoid her coworkers as much as she could. She was quieter than usual because she did not want them to recognize her. It was even worse because everyone knew she worked there, so they kept on asking her questions. I then decided to put her on out of her misery a little bit. I told everyone that I made a slideshow for my mother-in-law just to thank her. But everyone thought that it was so sweet of me. After saying a few words, I played the slideshow. The slideshow was a complete compilation of them talking trash about me and my husband and them trashing the place that they thought was the venue. After the video ended, everyone was silent as they digested what they had just watched. That's when the people start to reprimand my mother-in-law for how she was treating me. They said that she had gone too far now and that she did something that was vandalism. She had to be arrested. I then said that it was not at all, for even though my sister-in-law criticized my income, she was far worse off than me. A girl who was working there asked what I meant. My sister-in-law was just earning a low wage like her, and I feigned shock and asked if she was not a manager like she was telling everyone. Well, that set off a staff in a fit. They could not stop laughing and pointing at my sister-in-law. My sister-in-law told me to stop, it was not funny, and another girl said that not only was she a thief, but a liar too. I said yes, and she was a liar because several weeks before she had gotten fired for stealing. She never told her mother or anyone because she was so proud of her position at the hotel. Well, it turns out that she's not even a manager or an employee at the hotel. My mother-in-law turned red as she stood there. She looked like she was about to explode as she questioned her daughter, who had just turned into a crying mess. More of the staff then showed up and got caught up in what she did. They start to laugh at her, telling her that she wishes she could be a manager, that was why she was stealing money so that she could pretend that she was making a lot of money, but she was not. Her sobs increased, and she screamed to be having a panic attack. That was when she ran out there screaming for people to let her go. My mother-in-law just stood there embarrassed for the first time ever. When she had been criticizing me, she had been so proud of how she had nowhere to look. Not to mention that everyone was now very disgusted by her behavior, and it was clear that she was willing to do anything to hurt me, even if it was not legal, like trashing a venue. So, she left soon afterward, and the party did not last long. Update number 4. Well, I don't have the hottest news right now. My husband's finally stood up to my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law. This time he told them that he was not going to forgive them. He says that at first he thought they had nothing to do with Meredith's issue, but now it's crystal clear that they were pulling the strings. But what got him even more mad was the fact that they decided to destroy my venue. He said that it was a good thing that the venue was a decoy, but they were still going to have to pay for the damages since they thought they were rich, or they could just face some jail time. My mother-in-law clearly could imagine being a jailbird. She was already struggling to live with her embarrassment, so she was forced to write me a nice fat check for the money that I spent at the venue. My husband put his foot down, and he was so ready to have them spend a night or two in jail. My sister-in-law and mother-in-law were beyond mad, but their hands were tied. The best part is that right after that, my sister-in-law had to move back in with her mom. After word spread about her lies and her thieving ways in the industry, nobody was ever going to hire her. So now, she's staying with her mother, and she does not have that fancy apartment she was bragging about. The great part is that after what happened, I got some messages from some of the ladies who used to work with her. They told me that they were thankful that I put her in her place, and she had been a pain for many years, even though she was not a manager. She still had the confidence to boss everyone around, and she also acted better than everyone else and shamed them for the clothes they wore. Meanwhile, she was using stolen money and her mother's money to look like she was all that in a bag of chips. I also heard that she lost a lot of her shallow friends after what happened and what got out. They were just as shallow as her and would not want a poor friend. So, she got to feel how I felt when she and her mother constantly made me feel horrible about what I earned. Now, I bet she's wishing she earned money that I'm earning right now. They've both been very silent towards me since that happened. Normally, they would have something nasty to say, but I think this time I've stunned them. This is what I set out to do, to stun them so that they learn how to treat people better. I'm hoping that they'll learn from this and that they're not just pretending to have learned their lesson. I know many people can be like that. Update number 5. So, my husband and I have just left town. We thought that we needed a fresh start, and we decided to cut his mom and sister off after what happened at the party. They left me alone and had not bullied me after, but they have been harassing my husband. My mother-in-law complained that since what happened, she has lost friends in the community. She claims that she's been excluded from most of the church events. My sister-in-law, on the other hand, was not able to find a good-paying job at all. I'd say, luckily for her, her mother has money. And at first it was not a problem that she did not have money, but hey, I know it quickly did become a problem. Stacy started spending too much. She starts partying and simply would not go to look for a job at all. In the end, her mother was done and they had a fight. She has kicked Stacy out, so Stacy left town and no one knows where she is now. Then, my mother-in-law tried to crawl back to my husband after someone told her that we were moving. We really don't want to be in this toxic environment that we call this town right now, so we've decided to move. In addition to that, I found an even better paying job. I knew that one day it would happen as long as I worked hard, so we sold the house and got a nice chunk of change. We used that money to get a very nice house with 3 bedrooms, and in a year or two, we're going to start a family. We've completely cut ties with this side of the family because we were never that close with them. We're very close to where my parents are, though, and it's so good to be close to them again. I did not realize just how lonely I was feeling without them, and they've been so supportive of me, Elliot, and our journey towards independence. Final update. I've just found this out now, that's why I'm updating. My husband's mother has been sent to an old age home by the family. After we left, she got very depressed and nobody would take care of her. Her neighbors noticed this and got worried, and nobody was willing to take her within the family, so everyone decided it's time for her to go to an old age home. She used to brag that she would never have to go to one of those. She did this to herself, and I don't feel sorry for her. This should be a lesson to all people. You should treat others how you want to be treated. Money is not everything. I hate it when people make everything about money. When I have kids one day, I want them to be happy. It does not matter with whom. My husband completely agrees with me, and we're going to raise our kids to be very selfless and not to care about too much money. While money is important to lead a comfortable life, it's not more important than maintaining healthy relationships within your family. So yeah, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. I'm just happy OP and her husband were able to leave town and just live basically happily ever after on their own. It just amazes me reading all these stories about what links a mother-in-law or a sister-in-law, father-in-law, brother-in-law, whatever in-law is causing the issue. It just amazes me how far they'll go to prove a point, which sometimes goes so far that they sabotage themselves. And that's what we saw in today's story, guys. Let me know what your thoughts of it were, and let me know if, well, you were in OP's position. What would you have done? Would you expose them as well? I think I would have. Anyways, drop your thoughts down below. My name's Mr. Reddito, and I narrate stories like this every day. So hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day, and remember, it's cool to be kind. And by the way, guys, It's Cool to Be Kind t-shirts are about to go live. Let me know if you would be interested in getting your hands on one of Mr. Reddito's It's Cool to Be Kind shirts. I love to spread positivity, and the best way I can do that is by t-shirts. So guys, have a great day, and, well, I'll see you tomorrow.